Unlike high volume dive centers, my choice for rental equipment isn't tied to any retail deals that I've made with particular manufacturers. I can pretty much choose any pieces of kit available on the common market. Here's what I chose. Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Welcome to Divers Ready. My name's James. We are back yet again with one more Mouthpiece Monday. If you're new to this channel, make your next dive on our subscribe button for me. Click that little bell icon and that way you'll never miss any of our awesome content. All of our videos are made with one simple goal in mind, and that's to help make you a better scuba diver. This week, we're talking about my personal selections for rental gear. What equipment do I give to my recreational level students when they come to me for training? Now, in order to do that, I got to give you a brief history of Miami Technical Diving, which as a brand is only 3 years old. I am predominantly a technical diving instructor. That is my bread and butter. I still love to teach all levels of training. So think about that from like kindergarten through to university. I'll teach anyone at any level of their diver education because I get a thrill from it, and it's still something that I very much love to do. Now, it was great being, mainly focused on technical diving for the longest time. I would have my personal technical diving gear, and then I had two identical copies or two identical sets of technical diving equipment that I could rent out to students. And I was mainly teaching one-to-one, but then at least I had a spare set and so on. It's very hard to sell somebody $2,000 or $3,000 of technical diver training courses and then turn around to them and say, oh, by the way, none of your recreational dive gear is going to work. You also need to go out and spend another $2,000 on gear for the class. So I wanted to make sure that I had technical diving rental equipment available. And then we started putting YouTube videos out, and that obviously reached a much broader audience than just our little technical diving niche. And I started getting asked for recreational diver courses to a point now where it's about 50-50. I teach about 50% technical and 50% recreational, and I'm very happy with that. So earlier this year then, I went out and put together pieces that I wanted to form the rental recreational scuba gear that I would give to my recreational students. In other words, if somebody comes to me for open water, what is the first setup of gear that they're going to learn to dive in, right from the swimming pool to open water dives 1 through 5? What should I put them in? Well, I figured I'd give you my choices a rundown for each piece of equipment and talk to you a little bit about how that differs from the thinking of a larger, more commercial dive center. So let's dive in then and look at what my selections actually are, starting with cylinders. An aluminium 80, absolutely no different from any dive center, certainly throughout the Caribbean or any other warm water destination around the world, really. It's the workhorse, it's an Al-80, you know it, you love it, there's nothing else to say about it, and I really don't have a reason to pick a different tank for recreational divers here in South Florida. So, you come dive with me, you do a recreational course, you're going to have an Al-80. So as we move into some brand selections that I've got, it's probably a good time to tell you that this is not a sponsored video by any of the brands mentioned in this video. All of the pieces of equipment I'm featuring here today are my own personal selections. Moving on. BCD, the Dive Right Hydrolite. You guys know this already. You saw the review video we did of it. If you didn't, I'll link it up above there, but you can go check out my comments on it. Why did I choose this as a rental BCD over everything else that's out on the market? Well, for me, it was the only product that I found that had the performance of a backplate and wing, but all the comfort of a luxury plush padded jacket style BCD. So basically you're learning to dive in a backplate and wing, your trim is going to be nice and beautiful, and it's also super comfortable to wear. And I think when you're learning to dive, comfort is a very overlooked factor. And this is just so plush, so comfortable, and yet dives really, really well that if you're doing your open water training in this, it's a great way to start out. The other reason that I chose the Hydrolite as my rental BCD is because each unit of the Hydrolite can be sized up or down one size. So if you buy a large, you can actually size it down to a medium by adjusting the straps, or up to an extra large. So you cover 3 sizes with one BCD. So that meant that if I only bought 3 BCDs, because I only teach 1 student at a time, 1-to-1 ratio, that I would have a BCD for anyone who walked through the door, as opposed to any other BCD where I would have to buy 5 or 6 or 7 different units to cover the whole range of sizes. Next up, regulators. So, when I picked a regulator for my students for recreational courses, I want it to breathe so well the student forgets they have a regulator in their mouth. I want to be able to tune it to within a hair's breadth of free flowing. I want it to breathe with the easiest, smoothest breathing rate possible. I want it to be the Rolls Royce of regulators. So, why do I do this? Do I do this for student confidence? Yes. Do I do it for their comfort? Absolutely. I also do it so that when they finish their course with me and they're down in some sunny little isle somewhere, some warm tropical destination, maybe doing some resort diving, and they rent a bottom of the line, no frills piston regulator that hasn't been tuned in years. Maybe it was serviced, but it certainly hasn't been tuned in years. They call me up and curse me out for giving them really expensive tasting regulators. And that to me is funny. No, seriously, I want a high performing regulator. I want my students to learn in the Rolls Royce of regulators, which to me is the Apex XTX 50. Yes, DIN, thank you very much. And I add to that the Aqualung ABS Octo. Fins, we have the Scuba Pro Go Fin. These are one of those modern design, single piece injection molded monoprene style fins. Perfect in my opinion for South Florida warm water boat diving. In fact, I know a tech instructor down here who uses these exact fins for technical diving. They're very light, they're very, well, actually slightly positively buoyant in the water. But they're perfect for warm water recreational diving. They're absolutely fantastic. They have all the ease to put on and pull off of open heel fins, but because they're monoprene, the foot pocket is super soft, which means you don't need to wear booties, which means I don't need to carry rental booties in everyone's different shoe size. Right, accessories. Everyone that comes to do a recreational level diver course with me has to get in the water with a SMB. No questions asked. I have tons of them. If you need to rent one from me, not a big deal. You know how I feel about it. I made a whole video about these, so nothing else to be said there. Also of note, by the way, if you do your open water course with me, or if you just come to me and you've never done it before, I will teach you how to deploy a DSMB from underwater. It is that vital. Some agencies require it, some don't. I find it hard to keep up because it keeps changing. But regardless of what agency I teach for, any open water course I teach, I'm going to teach you how to deploy a DSMB from under the water. I think it's that important. Reel, I go with a simple Delrin spool because if you lose it, if it comes detached for any reason, it's pretty cheap for me to replace. But that being said, it's also the most convenient thing for shallow reef diving and for deploying the DSMB. As for dive lights, it is the Light and Motion Solar. This one is 1200 lumens. It has a spot and flood function. The reason I like these lights is that they are easily wrist mounted, which keeps your hands free. So for any skills we've got to do on the course, this doesn't get in the way. They're also hard to lose. They are incredibly high quality. They have a really good LED and good battery on them. And I'm just a big fan of them. So I have a whole drawer of these actually. If you come to me for recreational diver training and you do not have your own dive computer, you will be rented the Shearwater Petrel. It is large, it is chunky, it is hard to lose, but easy to operate, and it has a very nice, big, clear color display that has all the information you need and nothing you don't. If you went through your open water diver training and you were rented a hockey puck style computer on a console that has a grayed out LCD display from a Nokia 3210 from 1994, I feel bad for you. Now you'll notice that I haven't mentioned masks yet. If you come to me for training and you don't have your own mask, which would be unusual, most people do, even if it's just a hangover from their snorkeling days, I have so many masks. There isn't one specific that I want to highlight here because I didn't buy any intentionally for the rental fleet. I have pretty much every brand represented. I've got so many masks that I'll find one to fit your face no matter what shape your face is. And of course, even before COVID and all that kind of stuff, all of my rental masks, all of my rental regulators for that matter, are sterilized between each user. Now, you will notice that there's one piece of dive equipment I haven't mentioned, and I do not rent out, and that's wetsuits. I think I've mentioned that before on the channel, but no, just absolutely not. No way. I'm not renting you a wetsuit in the same way that I'm not renting you underwear or a toothbrush or contact lenses. It is a personal item that you can either buy for yourself or rent somewhere else, but I don't need to fill this beautiful dive locker up with a bunch of pissy rental wetsuits. Not going to happen, sorry. So if you come to me for a rental course and it is in the winter and you might want a 3mm or maybe a 5mm even, if you feel the cold, by all means invest in one before you head down here. Okay, so I want to know in the comments below, what gear did you learn to dive in? And I don't mean like make and model, I mean, did you use rental gear? Did you get some hand-me-down stuff from a brother or a sister or your parents or something? Did the quality of the dive gear affect the amount of enjoyment you had when you were first learning to dive, either positively or negatively? Did it put you off a certain brand or attract you to a certain brand? Did you learn to dive in a particular piece of equipment and love it so much you went out and bought it the next day? All of those things fascinate me. That's your homework, guys. Let me know in the comment section below. And I hope you enjoyed this video, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. Just over here, I'll put some of our other videos from our back catalogue for you to enjoy. And until next time, my name's James. This was your Mouthpiece Monday video for this week. Dive safe, dive often.